Hi boys and girls, I'm Miss Lydia from the Boston Library. Thank you so much for joining me for story time this morning. Today we are talking about frogs. So I wanted to read a little bit from this book called Fanatical About Frogs by Owen Davey. What are frogs? Frogs are amphibians, which are animals that usually switch between living in water and living on land during different stages of their life cycle. Frogs have short bodies, no tails, and their back legs are typically longer than their front legs, usually with some webbing between their toes. Their eyes tend to be large, sticking out from their heads, and female frogs are almost always larger than the males. They belong to the scientific order Anura, which means without a tail in ancient Greek. But what about toads? All toads are frogs, but not all frogs are toads. People usually use the term toad for a species of frogs that have dry, leathery skin and the ability to live away from water. From now on, when we talk about frogs, this includes toads too. Adult frogs are usually carnivorous, meaning they only eat other animals. They swallow their prey whole, with some species eating any creature that fits inside their massive mouths. A frog's diet primarily consists of insects, but it can also include worms, snails, mice, fish, snakes, birds, crickets, and even other small frogs. And then this says here, there, and everywhere. Frogs are found on every continent except Antarctica. They are most abundant in tropical rainforests, but can be found in woods, swamps, lakes, and even in the Arctic Circle and deserts. Approximately 7,000 species have been discovered so far, but more are found each year. Many frogs are small, well camouflaged, and can hide in difficult to reach areas, so it's not surprising we haven't found them all yet. Born this way. Frogs go through several massive changes as they grow up. At each stage of their life cycle, frogs will look and behave differently. The process of changing from egg to adult is called metamorphosis, and it happens in a variety of remarkable ways across different species. We start with an egg. Frogs lay soft, jelly-like eggs, which are stuck together in a group called a clutch. The eggs are vulnerable to drying out, so they are laid in watery areas such as ponds. A single clutch can contain thousands of eggs. Then we have our tadpole. A tadpole wriggles free from its egg and begins swimming around the water. Tadpoles are similar to fish, with strong tails for swimming and gills in their heads, which help them breathe underwater. Then we have a froglet. The tadpole grows back legs first, and then a few weeks later, its front legs appear. The tail begins to disappear too, as it develops into a tiny version of an adult frog. It has now changed into a froglet. And then we end up with our adult frog. When a froglet begins to leave the water and absorbs the remains of its tadpole tail into its body, it becomes a frog. After a couple of years, this frog will be able to mate and produce offspring of its own. Our next book is called I Don't Want to Be a Frog by Dev Petty. I want to be a cat. You can't be a cat. Why not? Because you're a frog. But I don't like being a frog. It's too wet. Well, you can't be a cat. I want to be a rabbit. You can't be a rabbit. Why not? Look, I can hop. Sure, but where are your long ears? Besides, what's wrong with being a frog? I don't like being a frog. It's too slimy. That may be, but you can't be a rabbit. I want to be a pig then. You can't be a pig. Why not? Most of all, because you're a frog, but also because you don't have a curly tail or eat garbage. I can eat garbage. Everyone says that until they eat garbage. Sorry, you can't be a pig. I want to be an owl. Of course you want to be an owl. Being an owl is the greatest thing ever. Boy, would you love being an owl. So Can I be an owl then? No, of course not. Why not? 1, you don't have wings. 2, you don't look wise. 3, you can't turn your head all the way around. 4, you're a frog. What's wrong with being a frog anyway? Too much bug eating. I see, but still, no, being an owl isn't for you. Why so glum? I don't want to be a frog. What do you want to be then? Not a frog. I want to be a cat or a rabbit or a pig or an owl, something cute and warm. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I love eating cats. I love eating rabbits and pigs and owls too. And I'm pretty hungry. I might just go gobble some up right now. That's terrible. It's who I am. But guess the one thing I never eat. Badgers? No, I eat badgers. Lots of badgers. Frogs? Bingo. Why don't you eat frogs? Because they're too wet and slimy and full of bugs. Oh, so it's good to be a frog? Yep. I guess you can't fight nature. We are who we are. And you are a fierce hunter. And you are a wet, slimy, bug-eating, very lucky frog. You should just be happy you're not a fly. What's wrong with being a fly? Our last book for today is called City Dog, Country Frog by Willems. Spring. City Dog didn't stop that first day in the country. He ran as far and as fast as he could, and all without a leash. City Dog spotted something he had never seen sitting on a rock. It was Country Frog. "What are you doing?" asked City Dog. "Waiting for a friend," replied Country Frog with a smile. "But you'll do." City Dog and Country Frog played together. City Dog was new to the country, so Country Frog taught him Country Frog games. Country Frog games involved jumping, splashing, and croaking. That was spring. Summer. City Dog didn't stop to admire the green, green grass. He ran straight for Country Frog's rock. "I'm going to do you a favor," said City Dog when he found Country Frog. "I'm going to teach you City Dog games." City Dog games involved sniffing and fetching and barking. And there's the frog throwing the stick for the dog. City Dog and Country Frog played until Country Frog was too tired to sniff and fetch and bark anymore. That was summer. Fall. City Dog didn't stop to sniff the falling leaves. He ran straight for Country Frog's rock. "Shall we play today?" asked City Dog. "Dog or frog games?" Country Frog took a deep breath. "I'm a tired frog," replied Country Frog. "Maybe we can play remembering games." City Dog and Country Frog sat together on the rock. They remembered their spring jumping and splashing and croaking, and they remembered their summer sniffing and fetching and barking. That was fall. Winter. City Dog didn't stop to eat the snow. He ran straight for Country Frog's rock. City Dog looked for Country Frog. But Country Frog was not there. And there he is waiting. that was winter. Spring again. Country Chipmunk spotted something she had never seen, sitting on a rock. It was City Dog. "What are you doing?" asked Country Chipmunk. "Waiting for a friend," replied City Dog sadly. But then he smiled, a froggy smile, and said, "But you'll do." And that was spring again. I want to take just a moment to point out some little frogs in the pond behind me. So let's go take a look and see who we can find. Here you can see a giant bullfrog sitting on the side of the pond. Let's see how close we can get to him. He's sitting very still. Now if we look over here, you can see another little frog. That's a leopard frog sitting on a lily pad. There are lots of other little frogs in this pond here, but they're sometimes very difficult to spot. Thank you so much for joining me for our froggy story time. I hope you enjoyed our stories today, and I'll see you again next week.